is Ami Sahna, founder and owner of Her Apparel, a mother's clothing brand. Tough Startup has been one of the best things that ever happened to my life, if not the best.
My name is Modula Fati, founder, farm manager, ML Poultry. Before Tough Startup 2018, this used to be my poultry house with about 200 chickens. And today, ML Poultry has just built a new farm with a production capacity of up to 4,000 chickens.
I'm Ivo Lawrence Mendy. I'm the CEO and the founder of Cameco. The Tough Startup, we're able to register the company in Ghana as a limited, Right Africa Ghana Limited.
I urge every single young entrepreneur out there to give it a try. It's a life-changing experience.
Welcome to Star TV News. The headlines this hour with me, Ajakadi Sanyang. Hamad Ba says Gambian journalists will not suffer under Barrow's administration. Women leader announces death of opposition parties in Jazeera. UDP notifies National Assembly of expulsion of their 8 lawmakers. Gambia government fumes at overzealous interpreter over assault of journalists. APRC warns people against buying Jammeh's assets. On the international scene, search efforts find bodies after a pounding rain in Kenya landslides. Angry demonstrators storm UN camp in the Democratic Republic of Congo after deadly attack. Deadly storms hit France. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. Honorable Ahmed N.K. Ba, Minister of Tourism and Culture, doubling as the leader of National Reconciliation Party (NRP), has on Sunday, 24th November 2019, assured Gambian journalists that they will not suffer twice in the country for merely doing their job. Jacqueline Collate files in this report.
Honorable Ba was speaking at the President's Meet the People tour at Basse, Upper River region, where he also acknowledged the pivotal roles the journalists played 2016 in effecting the needed change of governance in the country. The tourism minister comment came on the heels of assaults meted onto Sally Job of Kirfatu, Ibrahima Jambang of Gambia Talent and Promotion, and Landing Caesar of Paradise FM, covering the tour of the country. The 3 journalists cried foul play in the hands of certain supporters of the president who assaulted them at Lamin Koto Janjambure ferry crossing point when they were filming some youths of CRR who attempted to block the president's motorcade from crossing. The government spokesperson will speak on Monday and will explain the position of the state on this matter. The Gambia is a democratic state where the freedom and liberty of journalists is highly respected. You cannot suffer under Jammeh's rule and suffer under Barrow's government too. We won't allow that, Tourism Minister Ahmad Ba disclosed. The minister said President Barrow and the entire government continues to recognize the efforts of Gambian journalists, especially for their efforts in effecting a change of government in the country in 2016, revealing that government has already launched an investigation into the matter and will release its position on the matter soon. Under Jammeh's rule, journalists have been killed. Some encountered all kinds of difficulties, but that would happen under Barrow's rule. The loyalty you have for your country is clearly demonstrated by the job you are doing, but we still ask you to continue to be fair and neutral in carrying out your work, Honorable Ahmad Ba stated. The Gambia Press Union GPU, the main journalist body in the country, has since commended the assault of these journalists, disclosing that the safety and security of journalists covering the president's tour remains its concern. Jacqueline Collate, reporting for Star TV News.
Fatoumata Callate, a woman leader, has announced the death of opposition in Jazeera constituency in Upper River region URR of the country, disclosing that this development is square down to the supports enjoyed by the people of Jazeera under the able stewardship of President Adama Barrow. Sina Bujasu reports.
Madam Callate made this revelation at Gambisara village, where President Adama Barrow held his Meet the People tour over the weekend. President Barrow was accompanied by Madam Sadio Mbalo, Second Lady of the Gambia for the first time since the Meet the People tour amidst rousing welcome from cultural and traditional entertainers. What we want to make very clear is in Jazeera, especially Gambisara, There is no more opposition left here. GDC, UDP, PPP and APRC are as good as deaf in this region by this time, Madam Callate disclosed at the Gambisara meeting. According to her, the decision to eliminate opposition support in the region is due to the unprecedented support rendered to the people of Jazeera by the administration of President Adama Barrow, revealing that the $1 million revolving fund given to the women of Jazeera has already been paid so as to open up other credit facilities for other women across the country as part of the Women Empowerment Initiative launched by President Adama Barrow. We were given fertilizers to sell, which we did and made a profit of over $2 million. We took the money and gave it back to the government to open up other opportunities for the people of this region. Equipment such as power trailers and tractors were given to farmers to empower women during the past rainy season, Fatoumata Callate disclosed. Speaking at the gathering, President Adama Barrow said government is ready to open up a new port in the Upper River region to the centralized national development agenda, adding that URR have been key actors in government for so many years but have been left behind in terms of development. We will open up a new port in Gambia's second capital, which is Basse, to decentralize our development plans in the Gambia. You people of Jazeera have made me proud and I'm grateful for how you welcomed me and my entourage to this region. With unity, we can achieve a lot of success, President Barrow told the people of Jazeera. Senabu Jase, Star TV News.
The United Democratic Party has notified the National Assembly over the expulsion of their party of 8 serving lawmakers. The Speaker, Mariam Jack Denton, informed the lawmakers on Monday. The expelled lawmakers are Fatoumata Jawara, Alaji Jawara, Belai Tunkara, Abdoulaye Cisse, Seiko Bajaju, Seiko Marang, Baba Gale Jallo and Omar Rabo. More on this report with Binta Kuni.
Denton said her office received a letter from UDP explaining that the expelled members are no longer representing their party in the lawmaking body. Thus, the lawmaking body made modest changes in its sittings arrangement in the chambers to separate 8 expelled members from the UDP parliamentarians. The expelled will now be independent parliamentarians, though the UDP claimed their loyalty is to President Adama Barrow, a former member of the party. Meanwhile, the lawmakers on Monday voted a motion moved by Halifa Sallah, a representative of Serekunda East, to refer the 2020 budget estimate to various communities of the National Assembly. The communities will scrutinize the budget and revert it to the lawmakers when sessions on the budget resumes on Wednesdays. Binta Koli, Star TV News.
The Gambia government Monday issued a statement lashing out an overzealous interpreter who allegedly assaulted journalists that are traveling with President Adama Barrow on his nationwide tour. Last week, Thursday, 3 journalists were assaulted by some people who were touring the country with President Barrow. Dado Cham files in this report.
The Gambian government on Monday said the very unfortunate incident involved involuntary local interpreter and 3 independent journalists at the Janjambure Lamin Koto ferry crossing. A statement by government spokesperson Ibrahim Sankara said the government want to make it categorically clear that neither President Adama Barrow nor any member of his government or official delegation encouraged, participated or conduct the alleged assault on the 3 journalists from Kirfatu, Gambia Talent Promotion and Paradise FM. Contrary to report, the President Barrow had instructed Tourism and Culture Minister Honorable Hamad Ba to pacify the BYM supporters over poor legislative agreement affected the transportation. President Barrow did not, in fact, know of the incident until several hours thereafter. Rather, in exercise of good judgment, no sooner had the Tourism Minister Hamad Ba noticed the rising tension among the supporters over poor transportation agreement that he immediately intercepted the instructor of the CRR Regional Governor Sirif Abbas Sanyang to immediately contact their demand, and that was hidden to the instantly. However, upon thorough investigation, the government was able to establish that an volunteer in the Meet the People tour, apparently unhappy with the filming of the altercation among supporters, attempted to stop the filming and in the process was caught. The alleged assault is embarrassing, uncalled for, and deeply regrettable. Equally, the presidency is genuinely remorseful and unreservedly apologizing to the true. the Gambia Press Union and the concerned parties over this act, President Barrow encouraged those affected to continue with their normal business and assure all journalists that his government does not conduct any act of impunity and over attempt that undermines the press. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dada Cham.
Mr. Usman Rambo Jatta, Deputy Party Leader of the Opposition Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction APRC, has warned individuals who intend to buy assets that belong to ex-President Yahya Jammeh. Jacqueline Colley sends us this report.
Speaking at a recent political rally in Abuko, the APRC deputy leader says anybody who tries to buy those assets is only wasting his money. He says that money will be a charity because over their dead bodies, will they ever allow anyone to take away the assets of their supreme leader? Jatta stressed, "We are coming back for those assets because Babili Mansa is on the way coming." Jammeh is currently on exile in Equatorial Guinea after he shockingly lost the 2016 presidential elections to current President Adama Barrow. But in a rally-duped homecoming of Babili, Rambo says Jammeh must return. Jatta described the commission of inquiry that was set up to look into the financial dealings of Jammeh and his close associates as a criminal gang. The commission is set to sell assets that belong to Jammeh after its investigation found out that he stole almost $1 billion from public funds during his 22-year rule. However, Rambo argues that the composition of the commission is bogus. According to him, a commission that consists of Surahatu Jane and Ami Bensouda is unacceptable because they are not honest people. Therefore, they will never allow anyone to tamper with the Jammeh's assets. Rambo Jatta continued his assault on the commissions as he blasted the lead counsel of TRRC, Issa Fall. He accused Fall and the commission of bribing witnesses so that they could lie against Jammeh. However, he argued that they have absolutely no problem with the TRRC so long they want to establish the truth, compensate the victims and reconcile the nation. What they are against is lying against Jammeh and the APRC. Jatta admits that they were indeed human rights violations during the APRC government, but argues that no one can prove that all those violations were directly perpetrated by Jammeh. Jacqueline Colley, Star TV News.
The Network Against Gender-Based Violence, in partnership with United Nations Development Programme UNDP, leads 16 days of activism against gender-based violence in the Gambia, with the theme No to Sexual Violence in Workplaces. The event kick-starts yesterday at Westfield Monument. Sina Bujase reports.
The 16 days of activism against gender-based violence was initiated in 1991 by the Center for Women's Global Leadership, and this year marks its 27 years. The international campaign runs from 25th November, which marks the International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women, to the 10th December, which marks the Human Rights Day, and this shows the link between violence against women and human rights. The global theme for this year's campaign is Ending Gender-Based Violence in the World of Workplace. Hashtag the International Labour Organization and Gender-Based Violence. The Network Against Gender-Based Violence is embarking on nationwide caravan starting from 30th November. The aim of the campaign is to harmonize the efforts of the network to end all forms of sexual and gender-based violence in the Gambia. Fanta Jata Sow, human rights activist from Action Aid the Gambia, says the 16 days activism is an avenue to remind the authorities about the laws against gender-based violence and also educate communities about the rights of women and children. She encouraged the government to ratify the International Labour Organization Convention to protect every worker, especially women. According to her, government has a bigger responsibility to provide the environment and policy to make sure that women are protected in their workplaces so that they will reach their full potentials. According to Falu Sow, the national coordinator of Network Against Gender-Based Violence, said, Gambia have beautiful laws like the Women's Act 2010, now the Women's Amendment Act 2016, the Children's Act 2005, now Children's Amendment Act 2016, to name few, which protects women and children from all forms of violence. Yet still, the laws are not effectively enforced. He calls on government to allocate enough funds to institutions responsible for the implementation and enforcement of these laws. Seinabu Jase, Star TV News.
A total of 15 broadcasters from the 9 community radios across the country on Monday, 25th November 2019, began a 4-day training on how to effectively report on the national budget and public finance. The training was organized by the Gambia Press Union and funded by the International Republican Institute as part of a project to promote fiscal transparency and accountability in the management of public funds. The other Cham reports.
Speaking at the opening ceremony, Richard Abu, the trainer from Ghana, said when the finance minister presented national budget, he used his term that the generality of people has no clue about. Therefore, the task is then up to journalists to take the budget to the people, making it understandable for them. He said, when the minister goes to parliament talking about fiscal decency, using all those big economic jargon, he does not make sense to the people on the street and those listening to him in their various communities. The Ghanaian said, adding that it is incumbent upon journalists to explain what the minister said in a way that is understandable to the common people. Mr. Abiy said a national budget is the most serious national document, apart from constitution, that every country needs to understand and have. But if you have a budget which people don't understand, then there is a problem, the Ghanaian said. As journalists, we should be able to break down the budget for the people to understand it, as it's part of the mandate of educating the people. He further noted that when the people understand the budget, they can hold the government accountable and ask the relevant questions. Bakar S. Damfa, representative of the network of community radio broadcaster, said the training was very important for it was a design to give the participant an insight into national budget allocation. He said the training will help in as many community radio broadcasters in their reporting and discussion on the national budget. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dada Cham.
And now on the international scene, in Kenya, rescue workers have been sent to West Pokot County, close to the border with Uganda, but were being hindered by bad conditions after days of torrential rain. Mudslides have swept away homes and bridges, but some roads have now opened. Weather forecasters are predicting more heavy rain is on the way. Al Jazeera's Victoria Gattenby reports.
Police officers and aid workers recover another dead body in West Pokot County. More people have died in this region than in any other as a result of the floods and landslides on Saturday.
Everywhere the land was sliding. Where we're standing now, it can move at any time. So many people have been affected. No one can sleep in their homes because they don't know when the next landslide will occur.
Residents are being urged to make their way to evacuation centres, but many are still reluctant to leave their homes.
We're urging people to move from lower areas where there are mudslides because we don't know how long it's going to rain or when we're going to get food and medical supplies.
It's a message that was repeated by Deputy President William Ruto when he visited the injured in hospital.
Know that we are all here standing together to make sure that this situation is managed and we attend to the needs of the people here.
Government ministers visiting West Pokot say they've been shocked by the scale of the devastation.
The reason why West Pokot, frankly, let's say the truth, it took all of us by surprise because it's not one of those areas that we would expect to have this kind of challenge.
Roads and bridges that were cut off for days have reopened, but with more rain forecast, everyone remains on high alert. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera.
Protesters stormed United Nations facilities in the Democratic Republic of Congo town of Beni on Monday, angered by the failure to stop an armed group that killed 8 civilians. Dozens of people broke into the UN headquarters in the city despite gunshots fired by Congolese security forces seeking to disperse the angry crowd. 8 people were killed on Sunday in an attack by armed fighters in the northwest city of Beni. At least 2 more were killed and several wounded after angry police said protesters also touched the mayor's office in response to the overnight attack. A tweet by the police force showed flames shooting from the window and thick black smoke billowing above. Al Jazeera's Sarah Kerat reports.
The
This is the moment protesters in Beni were shot at from inside a United Nations compound. People accuse the UN mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo of failing to protect them against the Allied Democratic Forces rebel group. Determined to kick out one of the biggest peacekeeping missions in the world, protesters stormed this UN building and a few others.
We're suffering a lot because of killing in Beni. We want UN to leave. I've lost my mother and father to the rebels. I'm the only survivor. The UN must go.
The UN won't leave, then we won't stop. We're strong people. We lost many of our brothers and sisters to rebel killings.
On Saturday, 8 people were killed in an attack in Beni that was blamed on the rebels. Fed up with the violence, people brought the victims' bodies to the protest.
This is my dead sister lying here. She came from Butembo to visit me last week, but the rebels killed her.
Protesters set the town hall and mayor's office on fire. There's been a week-long shutdown of shops and businesses. The Congolese army launched an offensive against the Allied Democratic Forces in October, but locals say it's not enough. With roots in Uganda, the rebel group has been fighting in the North Kivu region for more than a decade. It's killed more than 1,500 people in the area in the last 5 years, and it's one of many armed groups fighting for control of the mineral-rich border region. In solidarity with those in Beni, people in the eastern border city of Goma are also protesting.
We're blocking the road and we reject all of the UN's work here, because it remains silent when people are killed in Beni and other areas. The UN does nothing.
But the UN mission here has defended itself, saying it does not shoot at protesters and cannot engage in operations in a war zone without strict coordination with the Congolese army. But it has also warned it will use force when needed to protect its staff. Meanwhile, the violence in Beni is hampering efforts to contain an Ebola outbreak that's killed more than 2,000 people since August. Sarah Khairat, Al Jazeera.
3 European countries are dealing with the aftermath of extreme weather. Torrential rain in Italy and France killed at least 3 people, while fierce thunderstorms brought havoc to parts of Greece. Al Jazeera's Natasha Butler reports from Paris.
Huge waves battered the southern French coastal town of Villefranche-sur-Mer, while inland swollen rivers broke their banks, sending water gushing through towns and villages. For days, heavy rainfall has caused widespread flooding in southeast France, submerging homes, factories and roads across the region. This man says he was unable to save his house.
At first, the river's water level was normal, but then, in less than an hour, it was a catastrophe.
France's Interior Minister met emergency workers who've evacuated hundreds of people and set up shelters. It was a similar picture across the border in northern Italy. Landslides in the region of Liguria destroyed homes and even part of a motorway.
From my house, I could see the motorway bridge, and when I saw it wasn't there, I was shocked.
In Venice, some tourists braved conditions on St. Mark's Square. High tides and weeks of rain have caused the worst flooding in the city for more than 50 years, inundating historic buildings, shops and homes. In western Greece, fierce thunderstorms and rain also caused havoc and damage. Meteorologists say the worst is over. The calmer weather has certainly brought some people relief, but it's also revealed the full extent of the clean-up operation ahead. Natasha Butler, Al Jazeera, Paris.
Thousands of indigenous people who live in India's forests have taken their fight against eviction to India's capital. The Supreme Court ruled to evict them from the lands they have been living in for generations earlier this year. Indigenous people have been accused of hurting the environment rather than helping it. But they say the ruling favors big companies who want to profit from the land. Al Jazeera's Anshul Vohra reports from New Delhi.
They traveled from forests in different states throughout India to gather in the capital, New Delhi.
Nearly 2,000 indigenous people providing a voice for more than 1 million others. They live in the forest and work the forest land. But earlier this year, India's Supreme Court ruled many would be evicted after local governments rejected their claims that they had a right to be there. Asha Mai, a mother of 3 and a farmer, took an overnight train from Burhanpur in the central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh to join the protests.
We won't move from our land. The government is trying to push us out and want to give our land to the tigers.
Forest officials claim many of these people are causing deforestation and threatening biodiversity. They are demanding they produce documents to prove their ownership.
Due to encroachment, there is a lot of fragmentation of forest. It is affecting our movement of the wildlife, their habitat. So it has to be checked.
But activists say these are ancestral lands and people living there don't know anything about official paperwork.
The people here say they're not encroaching on the forest but are a part of them. They want their rights under the Forest Rights Act to be protected. And they've accused forest officials of regularly beating them up, threatening them and destroying their fields to force them out.
Activists say the conflict is not between wildlife conservation and the indigenous people living in the forest, but between a simple way of life going back many generations and a corporate world eager to cash in on millions of hectares of resource-rich land.
You say that people who have been living in those forests, who have been living alongside wildlife, who have very basic subsistence needs and are no threat to the forest, are in fact protecting the forest. You say that they are the threat to the forest.
These people know there is opposition to their way of life, but say they won't let anyone take their land, at least not without a fight. Anshul Vora, Al Jazeera, New Delhi.
And before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. Hamad Ba says Gambian journalists will not suffer under the administration of President Adama Barrow. Women leader announces the death of opposition parties in Jazeera. UDP notifies the National Assembly of expulsion of their 8 lawmakers. Gambia government fumes overzealous interpreter. Gambia government fumes at overzealous interpreter over assault of journalists. APRC warns people against buying Jammeh's assets. That's all for this edition of the news. Please join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you.
Founder and owner of Her Apparel, a mother's clothing brand. Tough Startup has been one of the best things that ever happened to my life, if not the best.
My name is Modula Ahmed Fati, founder, farm manager, ML Poultry. Before Tough Startup 2018, this used to be my poultry house with about 200 chickens. And today, ML Poultry has just built a new farm with a production capacity of up to 4,000 chickens.
I'm Ivo Lawrence Mendy. I'm the CEO and the founder of Cameco. The Tough Startup, we're able to register the company in Ghana as a limited, let's Ride Africa Ghana Limited.
I urge every single young entrepreneur out there to give it a try. It's a life-changing experience.